Okay, so we are live everywhere. So idea is to start on time, finish on time. So at least we are trying to be sincere on that front. So thank you so much everyone for joining in. I'm Jadin. I'm one of the co-founder of eChai Network. We host a lot of these interesting sessions. So every Wednesday evening we take a sector-specific startup growth panel. Every Saturday we do investor perspectives. Every Saturday we'll have a lot of good investors joining in. This Friday evenings we are just trying to start product marketing panels where idea is to invite founders, product marketing professionals to come and share their experiences and interact with the participants. And one of the interesting thing we will be doing is that we will add few more programs around that. Also on eChai's website, you'll see a channel where you can follow a particular topic, and based on that, you'll be able to get specific notifications about those events or interesting resources. I'll share a lot of good resources about this topic in the chat, those who are live with us on Zoom. And thank you so much, Chinmay, Samir, Archan, and Kuntal for accepting the invite and being part of the panel. We'll have three kinds of audience for this program. People who are live with us right now on Zoom, those who are watching it on somewhere on social media, and those will be watching the video probably once this gets over. So thank you so much, everyone. So idea is a product marketing panel. So the format is going to be, we'll have each of the speakers briefly sharing their experiences, and we'll get to a specific set of questions. One of the things we try to do at all our panels is we have speakers giving rewards to the best questions. That reward could be 10 minutes of your time. So each of the speakers, you choose which questions were good during the session, and then whoever wins that, probably you can get on a 10-minute Zoom call separately in case they want to get more context or insights from what you are doing. So friends, keep on asking those questions. You can ask us questions on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, or those who are live with us on Zoom. One of the things we will do towards the end of the session is, so one of the things we are missing out in last 1 or 2 sessions is to have some of you who are watching, who are live with us on Zoom to speak up. So probably if you can ask a very specific questions, I'll allow you to speak up actually and not just read out your questions and panelists ask those things. So keep on asking those questions. And with this, those housekeeping announcements, thank you so much everyone again. And we'll just get started with our introduction. So Chinmay, if you can just briefly give your introduction and how you got into product marketing. Yes, Chinmay.
Sure. So I started out with digital marketing back in like 2012, and I mean it was a time when digital marketing was just like online ads and social media and all of that. So it wasn't really called digital marketing back then. So that's when I started out. I started with handling social media and digital marketing for different companies, startups, businesses, and post that I have worked like after a couple of years I moved to being an employee handling digital marketing for them, and then from there I have continued my journey along that. So what happened that I happen to have worked with a lot of early stage startup companies where the product was also driving growth. So like call it digital marketing, call it product marketing, it was all marketing at the end of the day. So and having worked closely with so many co-founders like uh, CMOs and product guys in general, really got me started into product marketing as well.
And right now you are with Cashfree.
Yeah.
And just can you give one line introduction about what that business does?
Sure. So Cashfree is a payment gateway platform. We have a host of services in payments, and we do like disbursals and payment collections for merchants like ERPs or like a host of different businesses, and we operate in India.
Thank you so much, Chinmay. Samir, if you can briefly give your background and some of the work that you've done or how you got into product marketing. Yeah.
Sure. So hi everyone, my name is Samir Mehta, and so I have overall experience of about 15 years, but I think digital and marketing is something that I've been doing since I would say 2012, post my time from once I passed out from B school, and I've been very involved with startups ever since then. I think my last enterprise role was probably CA Technologies, and post that it's always been startup. And what I noticed around this time was, because I was on both sides of the table interacting with agencies, also being a client, was that I saw that not a lot of agencies were very good on the digital strategy bit, right? They didn't really maybe understand how digital strategy needs to align with the business objectives. So that's when in 2016 I used to consult on an independent basis with CXOs, try and solve growth problems. And then 2017 is when I launched Exegy Consulting. And just before that, I was the general manager at stylecraze.com, which gets about 17, 18, which was getting 17, 18 million unique visits a month at that point, and now it gets about 25 million unique visits a month. So that's where I really understood digital marketing at scale, because at that scale you really need to be good, and I got to learn a lot from them. And all those learnings, then I was able to apply in my interactions with other CXOs. And Exegy Consulting in this avatar was, I've been doing this since 2017 as an agency. And here, luckily, I've gotten the chance to work across industries. So I worked on IT products, I worked on IoT, I worked on consumer products. I've looked at the US market very well, looked at the Indian market also, and I've helped where people scale their SEO traffic or their product conversion almost 10x over a period of 6 to 10 months as well, right? So that all those learnings actually come in handy, because then I'm able to apply that for other for other clients as well. So that's where my deep kind of understanding and interest comes in for product marketing as well as digital marketing. So that in a nutshell is what I do.
Thank you so much, Samir. You have a very diverse set of experiences that you worked with. Kuntal is the co-founder of DigiCorp and CricHeroes. So Kuntal, just a little more background about your work.
Sure. So, I started DigiCorp in 2004, and it's a software consulting company, and I started as a developer, and then I did product management, then I went into leadership role. So most of my experience till 2016-17 is around growing a consulting business. Uh, during the consulting time, we also launched many of our startup ideas. Most of them did not work. In 2016, we started CricHeroes. Abhishek, my colleague, started it, and that took off very well. Another one idea which we started in 2018, that's a startup in B2B space, which is Vastra. So slowly I moved out of consulting business, and I joined CricHeroes as a growth lead, whereby we are growing a startup in a consumer space. So I've been working in that role since last 1 year, and I'm learning a lot about various growth frameworks, how to apply them, how to grow products into these kind of markets. That is one area which I've been working, in a big way right now. And second thing is I'm also mentoring our other startup, Vastra, which is typically a startup around B2B small businesses. So that way, how to grow uh, in like businesses in two completely different ways, a B2B around small businesses of India and B2C around cricketers. So that way, building up two growth focused venture is what I'm doing right now. And most of it is first thing, like these days in digital products, product led marketing is picking up very well. And that is the best way to get users.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kuntal. Archan is the head of marketing at Hubilo. Archan, if you can just give brief info about what you are doing and your work.
Yeah, and I think mine will be the shortest, I guess. I'm happy about it. So yeah, I started my career as a network engineer with one of the leading internet service providers in the country right now. That time I think I had the access to internet and mobile data in abundance, and I think I ended up watching a lot of Steve Jobs presentations. So that is when I started to sort of think of switching to a marketing profile. I used to think that what if if these things are not properly communicated to right people at right time. So it was a little difficult for me initially to switch, because I came from network engineer background. So what I did was I looked for companies that are into telecom product, and luckily I got this switch in 2017. And from there on, I think I self-educated myself on the topic, and since then I'm in this field of product marketing to the point right now I'm part of Hubilo. So I'm looking after all the marketing activities over here, and Hubilo is basically virtual event software. So post COVID we were into also only into in-person events, and once this COVID lockdown and everything happened, I think the best part of working in a startup is that you get to see all the highs and lows of the business and see through the interface. And so now we are doing both in person as well as virtual events, and lately Hubilo has been receiving a lot of traction from domestic as well as internationally audience. So yeah, that has been my journey so far.
Awesome. Thank you so much. There are a few more questions which are coming up, which I'll just get started with. But trying to address the elephant in the room, what is product marketing according to you? There's a lot of content available everywhere. I've shared some of those links in the chat also. But Samir, 2020, this is July. So what is product marketing according to you?
Oh, so I'm not a big fan of very theoretical, answers to these type of questions, right? Because product marketing can mean very different things to also to different companies, and also depends on the stage of the company as well, right? But at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is you build up a product. You have a target audience in mind. How do you make sure that you're able to, articulate what your product does, the value it offers, the solution it provides, and the problems it's trying to solve to your target audience, and thus make it very easy for your target audience to start using your product, right? I think it's the simplest explanation that I usually use. And whether you use digital channels, whether it's offline, that comes in later, right? But I think at a very basic level, it encompasses all these things, right? What is your product trying to do? Who's it trying to, what is it trying to solve? Who's it trying to solve for? And why should they come to you and not to somebody else?
Thank you so much, Samir. Very well said. Kuntal, you mentioned about growth framework. So what is your approach to product marketing?
Okay, so I think as Samir mentioned, first thing is you need to understand what is your target audience, and what is the kind of product you are selling. Based on that, you can identify the right channels through which you can do marketing. And then in today's world, marketing is a big function of optimizing the usage of the channel and saturating it. So primarily, if I talk about CricHeroes, let's say one of the big channel for us is a referral and virality. So that way, for us, product marketing, most of the effort which we'll do will be about how to improve those two channels and use it. So that way, marketing today becomes you need to identify right channel and then keep optimizing it through various growth experiments. This is what it, and in the end, it becomes a process like keep optimizing and keep experimenting.
Okay, awesome. Archan, if you can also give answer on what is your approach to product marketing and give some examples of what you are doing with Hubilo.
So firstly, I'll just let know my understanding of product marketing. So when I initially started, am I audible?
Yes, sir, clearly.
Yeah. So when I first started this particular job of being a product marketer, I was doing everything. I was sort of meeting all my clients and trying to understand how they use my product, what are the things they like, they dislike about my product. Then coming back and preparing all the reports, all the documents that I can give to tech to build it up, and then also preparing, a lot of communication and messaging for my product, and then going on with sales calls with salespeople and doing everything. So for me, product marketing is like a micro CEO role where you are responsible for generating revenue through the product that you are handling. So it should see traction. Your client should have proper usage of your product, and you should also be able to smoothly communicate it to your target audience as well as your clients, and help salespeople close a lot of sales for your product. And I think this is something that I'm doing with Hubilo as well. So dealing with three departments. First, whatever product that we have, I'm trying to understand it. What Samir said, what issue it's trying to set. The more clear I be with my understanding of the product problem that it's trying to solve, the better I would be in a position to sort of deliver it to my clients or target audience, and then actually going on and meeting clients as to see how they're using it. So various segments would have different way of using the product, and I as a product marketer should know every use case that is possible out there. and then use all this knowledge and go to my sales, train them how to pitch my product, and bring on those bug into the the kitty.
Awesome. Chinmay, you have product marketing as title of your work. So your answer has to be the most comprehensive and the precise one. Yes, Chinmay.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So as rightly said by like almost everyone here, that product marketing is a thing open, like quite open to interpretation at this point. To be frank, and it's different for different companies. It's different for different businesses. The way I look at product marketing is it's ensuring that the USPs of the product or the benefits of the product are being properly conveyed to the customer, to the end user, such that it's the proper match between like what the product can do and like conveying those to the and to meet the expectations of customers. And that's what product marketers like eventually have to do. And like there are endless levels to it, there are endless like channels to it, but essentially it comes down to that, how do you like really like communicate effectively with your like potential customers.
Okay, awesome. A Kumar wanted to ask, so we'll do this experiment and let's see how it goes. I'm allowing those who are asking question, I'm allowing you to speak up. So A Kumar, if you can just speak up your question, and then we'll have speakers answering those questions.
Thank you, Jatin. So what is happening is that when we start doing the product marketing, there are two different challenges. Based on the budget, we may need to have a short-term strategy, product marketing strategy, and a long-term product marketing strategy as well. The short-term product marketing strategy, it may fall between 3 to 6 months, whereas the long-term product-specific marketing strategy, it may fall anywhere between 2 to 3 years. So I wish to understand what are your experiences around setting up this short-term and the long-term product strategies.
Okay, thank you so much.
Marketing, yeah.
Samir, you want to take up, because you have clients, they might have a different objective, short-term, long-term, and then we'll have somebody else also respond to that.
Got it. So I think the question was essentially, what are your short-term and long-term goals when it comes to product marketing, right? So from a 6 to 12-month time frame and a 2 to 3 year time frame, right? That's, I think, the gist of.
And if you can give some example around that.
Yeah, sure. See, I think the I would say the biggest objective of product marketing would be to for most companies would probably be to expand the number of customers that you have using your product, right? So now think of it as a new if it's a startup, and in fact there's one question which is asked where how do you get your first 50 customers for SaaS, right? And how does product marketing help for that? Now, what would be the short-term goals when it comes to a early stage company? So the early stage company, you're not looking at branding, you're not looking at a lot of very up there metrics to track, right? Because you really are depending on your usage of the product to increase. What are the key metrics? What are the key retention metrics that you're tracking? All of that has to go up, right? So your short-term goals always has to focus on making sure that the growth and the usage of the product goes up, right? And because that is important for you, that will define the channels, the marketing channels that you need to be looking at. Because it is short term, obviously, for example, SEO is not going to be part of your, something that you track from a goal perspective, right? Because it's not going to give you results within 6 months. But from a long-term perspective, SEO becomes key because it makes it more sustainable. You're going to be getting clients which are coming in better quality, and also your CAC comes down significantly when you're using SEO as well, right? So SEO SEO as a strategy becomes a metric that you want to put in place for the long-term product marketing goals. Brand and how do you define brand is whether your product is being included in the consideration set with respect to incumbent and people that have been around for a very long time, right? So that becomes a metric that you need to track probably post 12 months, because for the first 12 months of the product or the in the startup journey, you're not those are not the metrics that you should be tracking, right? So short term becomes very lead gen focused, long term becomes more branding and share of voice focused, and that also, like I said, determines the mix of marketing channels that you need to be looking at.
Yep. Thank you so much, Samir. There are a few more questions, so probably we'll move on to the next question. Kishan has asked, what kind of strategies may be helpful to acquire first 50 customers for any SaaS product? Archan or like Chinmay, you want to respond to that? Yes, please.
Sure. So, like, I mean, it's a great. So, it's kind of looked at as a like an underdog position, but like I personally believe like first getting your first 50 customers is like the stage where you get to do a lot of things which you don't get to do after you scale. So if someone is looking to acquire their first 50 customers, there's a lot of I mean manual effort that you can take to actually make things go through. So I mean like once you have an idea, like some kind of a prototype ready to start getting your first customers, like first is of course try to reach through your connections. Like if you know someone through someone you're friends with, or you've been colleagues with, or if you belong to the same alumni, it helps to have some relevant connect to reach out to these people. And like when you're getting your first 50 or especially the first 10 customers, you're not actually looking for traction or revenue. At that stage, you're looking for some basic product market fit, where you are looking for feedback and opinions of people, which can help you build the product better. Because we always start out with our anticipation key what people need, and then when we get that initial round of feedback on our product, we really start like the incremental like advantages that we add to the product, or the incremental features that we add at that stage, like can really take a product from like what it was to like 5x from there. So I think reaching out to your connections, reaching out on LinkedIn, and then I mean when you just need 50 customers, you can actually manually target people on LinkedIn. You can go and follow them, like their statuses, and do a lot of these like hacks, which I mean can get you started and get some conversations happening.
Also, I've shared the article by Lenny. He has written a fantastic article where he has just done the case study around how the popular consumer apps got their first 100 customers. It has a lot of good context and information about it. I'll share that link with that. And Kuntal, now the next question, which is kind of also related, probably you can pick that up. Is it necessary to have a prototype of product for customer feedback, and at what stage of product development?
Okay, sure. So I think just to add one line to last answer, there is one great article from Paul Graham, do things that don't scale. That is very helpful in getting first 50 customers. He has mentioned probably 10 to 15 tactics, and I think what Chinmay said is very true. You have to work with them closely one-on-one. Okay, now coming to the question, I think Jatin, can you repeat once?
Yep. Is it necessary to have a prototype of a product for customer feedback, and at what stage of product development? So basically, in the early days of getting into.
Yeah, so in early days, depending on the type of problem you are solving, sometimes it is, sometimes you need to have the product ready in order to even go to the customer. And many a times just having a landing page and trying to, get the emails or sign up based on the landing page, that can also give you a lot of validation before you start building the product. Apart from landing page, you can have, few prototypes, interactive prototypes, which you can go to your customers and then try it out, whether, get the response. So just to give you a clear example, in terms of Vastra, it's a product which we made for textile manufacturer. We did design sprint as, defined by Google Ventures. And we could create a prototype in a week. And then we took that prototype to the customer and started getting their feedback. So that saved a lot of effort of what we should not be building. Samely, on a contrast, in terms of CricHeroes, while we were making a scoring app, we could just do a little survey of from the users, but we couldn't do anything. We had to build the whole product in order to go to the market. So we spent almost 3 months in order to get the product ready, and then we went to the market. So it really depends on, kind of problem you are solving and how close you are to the market. That will help you understand, what you should have ready in order to go to the customers.
Thank you so much, Kuntal. Archan, probably you can take this up, and then I have a question for all of you. Manik has asked this question. Is it good to give... Archan, I'm asking the next question. We are moving on to the next one.
Okay.
Is it good to give trial or free service for initial customers, or that makes a wrong impression as you are providing a cheap service?
Well, no, I think there's no problem in offering a trial or free version. I mean, as long as, so basically, obviously, when you offer a trial or a free version, you wouldn't be letting the complete, product up for free. That depends on how do you want to sort of position your product in front of your customers when you're giving it for free, So probably giving the exact few services for free, which are good warm up features or warm up of in nature to your customer would certainly help. And then once they find more value, once they see that okay, there's more to this than what they can already do, so then they'll be be ready to pay for the advanced features that you have to offer. So I don't think it presents a bad impression, and especially certainly not once you are into the market and when you have taking a portion from the previous question, when you already have 50 to 100 paying customers that you have sold. I think then you are also in a position to offer free services to sort of scale, especially when you take a referral route. I think at that point in time, it certainly plays out a very good tactic to sort of grow and scale. So I don't think there's a problem in giving out free services at all.
Awesome. Also, ChazB has written a very good blog around premium model with the context of SaaS startups. I've shared that link here also. That will give you additional context. Probably, Samir, you can take up the next question. Nandan Soni has asked, what's the best way to market a subscription model for an FMCG product? Okay, subscription.
Okay.
FMCG, yes.
For FMCG. So, see, there are, I'll tell you what, so it again depends on the stage, right? So, if it's early stage, you just come up with the product and you want to get the first 50, in FMCG, you're probably looking at the first 100 to first 500, subscribers, right? Your first users, because FMCG is fast moving, the ticket sizes are usually smaller, so you need a larger base, right? One thing that I have seen that works very well is WhatsApp marketing at a hyper local level, which is focusing on gated communities, right? There is right now what is happening is there are a lot of these private local networks within WhatsApp, within Telegram, or a lot of these other apps that are out there, which are extremely active, which are used usually as the first point of reference, first point of getting referrals, getting recommendations. So, and that I feel a lot of companies are not tapping into right now. From a product perspective, from a product marketing perspective, I think the content that you create, the kind of collateral that you create, also need to be customized for this distribution channel. So one very quickly for pre-COVID, from September till March, I was actually running another startup which was in the digital daily housekeeping space, right? So I was trying to solve the maid's problem in India, right? So with a high-end daily cleaning kind of a model, I spent zero on marketing, and I had more customers than I could cater to, purely by going hyper local, customized marketing, reaching out to gated communities, and using their internal groups, which would either be WhatsApp or would either be Telegram, right? That's worked very well. So at the initial stage for FMCG products, for subscriptions, that is the best thing you can do. Get to the first 500, get to the first 1,000, because you have a lot of these gated communities with 4,000 flats, 5,000 flats in one hub. Let's say in a 5-kilometer radius, you'll probably find 10 of those. So that's a huge market that you can go after. Once you've been able to nail the first 500, after that, you can then start investing in digital. You can make testimonials. You can start going out again at a hyper local level, but you use Google Ads and Facebook and things like that. I think that's as a channel that is not probably being used a lot by marketers right now.
Awesome. So it's 5:30. We are in the midway of this webinar. We'll finish at 6. So one of the things we try to do is that have our panelists ask questions to each other, so we get to know what experts want to know from each other. So Kuntal, if you were to ask a question to any one of the panelists, what would that question be?
I'll need to think a bit. You can go to somebody.
Yeah,
okay.
You should have told us that before.
So Chinmay, yes, Chinmay, what is the question you would want to ask?
That's true. Actually, you should have. I'm not prepared with questions. We are just prepared with answers right now.
But anything that you would be curious, because
I have a question. I got it.
Yes, right. So I'll just make Kuntal, I'll just make a small point. What I realize, people know beforehand, they'll ask the obvious one. if they were to
No, I
ask
have a
us,
question for Kuntal. I have a question
Okay,
for
yes,
Kuntal. Is actually,
sure.
I play cricket a lot, and I mean through school years and all of that. So I really want to understand what were the growth hacks that you used for your product, and what worked, and how were you able to scale that? It'd be very interesting to know.
Sure. So I think, the thing that worked for us is, the scoring started by the tournament organizers. So inherently what happened is, usually a scorer uses our app to begin with. So he usually adds, if there is one match he's scoring, he adds 22 players. So he brings 22 players on a platform.
Hmm.
And if you look at a tournament organizer, he will have almost 10 teams. So that way, one particular event added, multiple number of users to our platform. And, score like our focus on user experience has helped them, spread us more and more. So most of the things is referral and virality. That is the hack that has worked for us really well. And another thing is no competing product experience.
Mhm.
So that, like, it is inherent virality that has helped us. And again, cricket as a game is, we are very near to the market, and it's at grassroots, cricket is also being played in a great volume. So that way, luckily, we were in the right market as well.
Great answer. Thanks.
awesome.
Okay,
Yes,
go
Kuntal,
ahead.
you ask the question.
No,
You
so I
ask the
think,
question.
so I think I would like to ask question to you. I have seen eChai growing very well, and I sometimes wonder that many different activities that you are able to accomplish, right? So just to understand, like, you have a very, we all know many different networks working for startup, but eChai has grown in its own way. So what are the channels that have worked for you in order to create this kind of network?
So two, three things. One thing that really worked for us was emails. So probably Samir, I sent him the email, and luckily he accepted that invite. He's ready. So that has really worked for us. So for bringing the community, one thing is you do good meetups, and for doing good meetups, you'll have to bring in good speakers. So sometimes you'll have to go via business. So one thing that really worked for us, that so this is where the core thing comes back. Can you communicate? Can you come across as an authentic person, so that somebody can spend 1 or 2 hours without actually charging anything for engaging in that content? So reaching out to people for speakers emails, that is one. Another that has worked for us is word of mouth. So probably eChai was small for a very, very long period, but those who were connected, they were very well connected. So they might not be attending all the meetups, but they were connected with the network. So when they move further in their lives in some other things, they will want to bring eChai in their network. So for example, I know a person who knew eChai but attended just 1 or 2 programs, but that person joined a certain incubator. The first thing he did was to bring eChai on board with that incubator. So,
I see.
so on reaching out, so bringing new people on board and making sure that the existing people remain interested in, that has really worked well. And a lot of other things are incremental that you always try to get right. Another thing you want to get right is to be sincere. I always believe scale, whether happens or not, depends on multiple factors, but you can be sincere on day one. So starting on time, finishing on time, communicating well. So these are very basic things. So I always idea is, so you do that right. When the opportunity comes, probably you can seize that. And luckily that happened with us in the last 1 year.
Great.
So that was my
Great.
context.
Yeah.
So we'll take a few more questions. Shalaka has asked a very good question. Have you used neuroscience or cognitive science in formulating product marketing strategies? Anyone?
No.
But this is Samir, Chinmay.
Well, we'll have to check the what these words mean, but I'll let Chinmay kind of take that.
I mean, I'm
no.
not
So
sure
answer
if,
is no.
yeah, so I'm not sure if we have technically, I mean, used these things specifically, but I kind of try to read a lot on consumer psychology and generally on human psychology a lot, to really understand how anyone can influence actions from people. So I mean, it just applies to marketing. So one book I would recommend to every marketer to read out there is Influence by Dr.
Robert Cialdini.
Yeah, right. So it really talks about how there are patterns within our behaviors where, I mean, we ourselves don't know where our triggers are. and it just having these things at your hands, it just opens so many doors when you are out there marketing.
Sure.
Awesome.
No, so I think
And
I
Shalaga,
would just add to
yes,
Chinmay.
Kuntal.
So don't look at it as algorithm or machine learning or something. It's basic psychology that works best in marketing. So you should learn psychology that way.
Okay, and Shalaga, this is a very good question because I'll have to read more on that. So next time probably we'll speak. I'll also have some more answers. Mitali has asked a question. We are an open source ERP company, Udo. The target audience we have is especially SMEs because of our affordability. I would love to hear how to penetrate the SME market and make a way for marketing in this segment. So Chinmay, in a way, with Cashfree, you have SME as audience, and Kuntal, you also can share your perspective. Yes, Chinmay.
Sure. I'm just trying to go through the question again. Can you repeat the question once again?
Or you can just go through the question. And Kuntal, you with Vastrap, you work with a lot of SMEs.
Sure. So I think
as a ERP company can do that.
Yeah, in SME, in India specifically, what works best is first is field sales is definitely, you would have to invest in that. Second thing is you need to have excellent service. Most of the products catering to SME, they are not doing a great job at serving them. So, in Vastra, we have a focused department which we call customer success. And many a times the customers really get amazed when our customer success team calls and tell them that, sir, you have purchased, you have given us check, you have made the payment, but we are seeing that you are not able to use the product, right? So that kind of follow-up is not being done by most of the company, right? So in order to, win the SME market, you need to have fleet on street, you need to have customer success department, and in a longer run, you cannot scale more with fleet on street. Then what you need is a self-serve product where SMEs can be onboarded directly, right? So in short term, you can work with this, and long term, you can go more with, on automated self-serve product.
Yeah. Archan, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, so I think I've been in this position quite a few times when I compete with all the bigger brands with deep pockets, and I have a product which serves majorly to SMEs. And to what Kuntal just said, I absolutely agree about the customer success department. But to add on to this point where he said that feet on street is important, and once you cannot do this, I think. There should be a dedicated focus made to develop a channel. You see, because I'll take a very rudimentary example. If I were to buy a Maruti Suzuki car, I wouldn't go out to Maruti Suzuki and say I want to buy a car. I would rather go to the nearest dealer and I would buy a car from them, right? So all these channel that you create, more focus on providing value to your channel partners and how they can in turn provide value to the SME clients, because there they have a very deep connect with them, or your dealers or whatever reseller network or whatever structure that you have. So a more effort, and as a part of product marketing, they are also the ones who can give you a lot of deep insights about what your product needs to incorporate in if they have to succeed in that particular market. And if you see, this is applicable to every segment of the industry, be it FMCG, be it B2B. If you have more people who are selling for you, you will need less amount of operational cost. It will reduce down your operational cost, and also it will give you deep insights about the market for free if you to look at it in a way. So yeah, I think channel development is must, and for that, go on, do road shows, meet people, do such webinars where you can. So just imagine if eChai were to be a enterprise selling some product, and if you are the channel partners, right? So if I have a word over here and I'll sort of go to my direct acquaintance and talk about this session, and the next time I'll bring 5 people onto this channel. So the same concept applies to business who are serving to SME market.
Sure. Just to quickly add one example, Tele is a great example. The way they have developed the channel partnership, and I have also heard the founder say that our partner's balance sheet is our balance sheet.
Yep. And also one other thing, you can, whether you have the bandwidth or not, you can create websites for these industry associations. because they struggle with their websites, they struggle with their websites for their, but that is a long route, but that could also open up few gates for you. Varun has asked a question, any experience with international product marketing, how to do it differently compared to India market? Yes, Archan, you respond, and Samir, you also have an international client. Yes, Archan.
I'll start with one of the experiences we had, and we sort of failed for the first time, so that's why it's very interesting. So initially, when we have a good reach in India, because anyone who has been to Vibrant Gujarat or any major events, they must have used Hubilo's mobile application. So domestic was kind of sorted for us. So now we wanted to expand. So I don't know how, but we actually ended up selecting Australia as a region to expand, and I started working on to creating a microsite for Australia and things like that. And like 6-7 months into this entire activity, we realized that neither our performance marketing nor our SEO efforts are paying off. And that is when we sort of realized that before getting into a market, there has to be a decent study that one has to do about how a market, so every market has different aspects to how they function. So say for example, Indian market is quite price sensitive. If you go to Gulf market, they are more interested in having a good user experience, aesthetics. They don't worry much about price. So same way, what we realized was that Australian market was more about more stable, old product or native product, product that is accepted by other markets first. So from this experience, what we then did was we ran a few pilot campaigns to understand from where are we getting most of our business. And we ended up realizing that much of our business came from United Kingdom and United States and a few other countries. So then we directed our efforts into understanding those markets better and how they see my product, right? So and all these regions, the kind of clients that we had were different. So some region had only enterprise clients, some regions had clients who used to buy our product and then sort of use it for their own clients, so kind of a channel partner network. So understanding how they perceive our products, we then sort of mended our marketing efforts and approached those markets. So when you are planning to go international, the first thing is that you try to understand how a particular market functions. What are the minute details about those markets that you can note down, and then you can probably run a few pilot campaigns and sort of get an idea about the acceptability, the response that you receive from your for your product. And that's I think how you should sort of proceed. Also, you can use your existing client base to understand if they have any connect in overseas market and what are their views. I think that helps a lot as well.
Correct. Samir, you have some international clients. Any specific differences that you found in how to approach that?
Yeah, so I think, see, one way how international markets are different than Indian markets is that would be that clients are much faster in their decision making there than in India. I think in India, even if you're the SMB space or the enterprise space is notoriously long sales cycles. But even for SMBs here in India, it's just quite long. Whereas in what we've noticed in the US and other markets as well is that if they like the product, they will make a decision. That's not something you will see here, which also means, but what is important for them to make that decision is they will definitely see whether there are local customers in that market. What are the support channels that you have? And another thing which is important, which is more important, it is still important in India, but I think more important in international markets is the brand that you create. And by brand, I'm not necessarily meaning by all the fancy stuff, but if all the consumer touch points that you have are consistent and your messaging is on point, your positioning is very clear, then that gives a very professional experience to the users in the international market who value this, and therefore they'll make the decisions faster. Whereas in India, they may not necessarily value the brand as much because it's very price sensitive, so they'd be okay to kind of cover up with that. But in the international market, it won't work. So that's something which has been different.
Awesome. A. Kumar has asked, Chinmay, you can answer this. What are the analytical tools used for product marketing and change the business direction?
So it's a huge plethora of tools out there that you can use. And I mean, it is very dependent on what specific, like what KPIs do you want to track from the marketing perspective, and like what are your overall objectives of product marketing or marketing. So I mean, I don't even know where to start, because it's a
If you can
really
share
huge
one or
list.
two,
Sure.
if you can share one or two you used
Sure.
in last 1 month, or for example.
Sure. I mean, if it's a website, then like Google Analytics kind of, I mean, you can start off with Google Analytics, or I mean, actually, I mean, there are a huge number of tools out there. I can't even put put a finger on it. Or if you're using an app, you can use Clever Tap, Amplitude, MoEngage. So it really depends on what you want to track as a product marketer. So, and if the thing is, eventually you are going to, like, no matter how you measure, how you like measure this information, eventually you are going to use Google Sheets, or eventually you are going to use Excel. So that's what it comes down to. And if you are using, if you want to do visualization of data, Google Data Studio is a free tool. Like, everyone wants to run after Tableau and all these highly priced tools, but you can also start off with Google Data Studio and similar, like, lower priced items.
And just to add into more context, if you were to like get the ROI on your efforts into product marketing, any specific tools that you use, Kuntal?
Yeah, I would like to add few things here. See, tools are very interesting area where we start searching, but there are two other questions which you should ask first. First is, what is the data I want to analyze? Most of the time we don't have idea of the data and we just want to start the analysis. Second thing is, in marketing or analytics, there are various category of tools. Like, let's say there are tools which are related to product analytics. Then there are marketing automation tools. And just to give you a little more clear answer, in CricHeroes, we are using Firebase for our app analytics. It is completely free up to certain usage. And we are also using BigQuery, which is Firebase database, in order to analyze user behavior, right? So Firebase and Google Analytics are very good tool, which can take you to a certain level. Then post that level, you will require some marketing automation, some survey tools and everything. Till that time, most of the things you can do with Google provided tools.
Okay. Varun has asked a question, which is a very good one. What is the role of pricing in product marketing, and does premium model or differential pricing help? Who would want to pick this up?
So I think, see, pricing, the role that will play in product marketing would be, if you remember when we started off this whole discussion with what is product marketing, we had said that, you know, you're trying to kind of articulate what values your product offers to a specific audience, right? So pricing also is a signal to that target audience about how good the product is, and as well as it is a way to validate whether you're in the right segment or not, right? If you think it's for the enterprise segment, but your pricing is not supporting you know, your sales efforts, or the response you're getting from sales is that, you know, this pricing is just not working, that means that maybe it is not something for the enterprise segment, right? So product marketing, you know, as your role as a product marketer is to define what target audience you're going after, validate that, and pricing helps you kind of validate that as well. And when it comes to whether freemium model or differential pricing, see, I'm a big fan of freemium model because it really helps you, kind of optimize your marketing funnel very, very nicely. Because what happens is if you kind of optimize the funnel till the sign up, because if your target audience sees a free version, which is either limited time full version or limited version unlimited time, they'd be very willing to at least sign up, and you've crossed the first hurdle. And then after that, it again becomes a product marketing initiative to convert them into a paid customer as well. So premium, I feel, works very well and should definitely be explored for at least for SaaS.
Correct. Alvin has asked this question. Why can't we see this question? So probably with Zoom chat, if you ask question to all the panelists, the only panelists will see the question. So you'll have to choose all panelists and attendees, so everybody will be able to see the question. So most of the people had asked question through panelists only, and that's why, Alvin, you are not able to see the question. Okay, I'll move on to the next one. Amit has asked, and which is very, so the way you used to do product marketing or used to do all this, post-COVID, anything has changed? Any specific things you altered? Archan, in a way, you pivoted your model, so you in a way pivoted the business. But in terms of your efforts into product marketing, anything has changed?
The one thing that I can very quickly remember is my communication. So I had this challenge of not being salesy at the time when people were finding it difficult to survive, but also at the same time being able to sell my product. So I think trying to work on how can I make my communication more empathetic at the same time be in whatever limits I can and not try and be salesy. So one thing that as a product marketer or a marketer in general that I focused on was the communication, because I cannot go on and send an email saying that, okay, hey, we have this product and you should buy it. So I mean, people were into lockdowns and stuff. So this is the time when you have to very clearly see that even in the time of lockdown, are there people wanting to meet? Is there? Can I make my communication less salesy, more empathetic? Are they going to invest? Do they have time and money? If at all I'm approaching them, what do I bring onto the table apart from my product and whatever it has to offer? Am I providing them some price benefit, or am I providing them some value which is equivalent to some number? So yeah, I think that was one thing that we took care of very seriously. And another thing that I can remember is a lot of money that event organizers had fueled in for events. So because this entire event planning process starts about say 4 to 5 months in advance, all your contracts are made and you cannot even get those money get that money back. So that was a segment which was making a lot of loss. So I sort of kept that particular thing in mind and approached my target audience, and that worked out really well because I was very clear, very specific about the pain point.
Well said. Chinmay, anything has changed in the way you would approach product marketing post-COVID?
Not really. So I mean, so this has only worked for us in the sense of we are more aggressive now, because since we know, I mean, so we are Cashfree, we are into digital payments, and since things are moving on to the digital side of things, I mean, we see we have doubled down on our efforts to really embrace this, in the sense of we want to give the option of online payments to as many merchants as we can. And there are specific sectors which are driving high numbers right now. For example, we just last week we launched a payment solution suite for education companies, or education institutes, ed tech companies and ERPs. So from the product marketing perspective, it's more about how we can move our preferences, or what we would want priorities towards the businesses. How do we prioritize the businesses which are going to benefit out of this, and then post that, it's it's the obvious thing to do. After, as a marketer, you know that these companies are going to be interested in payment gateways and accepting payments digitally, because now you don't want schools parents to really go and submit their fees in banks. So I mean, we have been open about it.
Awesome. So you're on the right side of the ship that is happening.
Kind of.
Samir, Varun has a follow question to you on pricing. Just a follow question on pricing. How to price it? Look at competitors, look at cost, margin based, or anything else.
Yeah, I read that. I think he's answered his own question, right? Which is, you nailed it, right? Which is basically look at all these. But I think what becomes key is definitely what is your cost of development, what are your costs, and maybe initially, obviously, you would want to keep it low to get more market share, and then you figure out how to match the competitors and improve your margins as well with longer term contracts. So there are a bunch of things, but yeah, essentially the things that you mentioned would be the ones that you should start to look at for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Dhanesh has asked the question. Kuntal, you can answer. Archan, you want to respond to that? I'll just take the question, then probably towards the end you respond. Dhanesh has asked the question. Can you please suggest me some optimized tools for creating MVP into SaaS product without coding for B2B sales? Kuntal, any probably no code tools which can help you build? You'll have to Kuntal, you'll have to unmute yourself and speak up.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I think there are many prototyping tools. Probably, there is something called InDesign, which you can use to create prototypes. That's a designer focused tool. And, 2 days back only, I looked at a tool which Google acquired. It is called App Sheets, where you can create the whole application without coding. And, AWS also launched something called Honey Code, whereby you can also create smaller apps without doing any coding. And that is, you can launch the app. It is not only prototype. It is a fully working app which you can create.
So then what will happen is that if you search, you will find a lot of tools, but it is sometimes becomes tricky to get started on those tools. So what you can do is identify people who have used that tool and just get on a 15-minute call or half an hour call with that individual so that you can get started with the tool. Else you'll just get into this in a black hole hub, discovering a lot of tools, but end up doing nothing.
Yeah.
And Archan, you wanted to respond to the earlier question around pricing.
Yeah, so just a quick point on pricing. See, whatever final pricing model that you set up, another important thing that generally people miss out is to sort of get in touch with your sales team and make them understand how they can justify that price when they get on a sales call. Because a lot of time this happens that you have worked out your pricing well, but then your sales is not in a position, so you need to sort of train your sales in terms of justifying that price point. I've been into a lot of sales call myself, being a buyer, and I've seen a great sales pitch where they actually write down and show that what in terms of like money value will I get if I actually invest the amount into a product.
Jatin, I would
awesome.
like to add something to pricing. I think we are.
Please.
Should I say, or you want to take next
Please.
question?
In a one line, because we want to finish
Sure.
at 6. Yes.
Okay, so I think one very important thing is there are two terms. One is called cost plus pricing, and other is called value based pricing. So you should always aim to price your product based on the value that you provide. So cost plus means if the price of the making a product, a cost of making a product is 10 rupees and you are selling it at 12. So that is one way of pricing. Another thing is what is the value you are adding to your customers. Based on that, you should price your product. So that will make you build your product more and more valuable to the customer.
Awesome. So we are towards the last part of the thing. So one thing we want to do is which questions you like the most. Chinmay, which question you like the most? Not necessarily to you, but as a whole, you felt this was a good question.
I'll actually have to go through. There are plenty of good questions out there. So pricing, I mean, discussions around pricing and regarding freemium models. So how can you how can you use pricing in product marketing? That's that's one of the questions which I liked.
Okay, so we are a marketplace. So probably those of you who have asked this question, reach out. I've shared the LinkedIn and the Twitter handles of all our panelists. So you can reach out to them saying that you want this thing, and they are supposed to give 10 minutes of their time. Mutually, you can decide.
Sure.
Samir, which question you like the most among all?
So I think a couple of questions, right? The marketing. How do you market FMCG subscription product, right? So that's something which is interesting. I've never come across a question which is based on that. And of course, the other one was how do you what do you do differently for international product marketing, right? So I think it looks like people are working on interesting things. So those are interesting questions.
Awesome. Archan, which question you like the most?
There are two. The first was about how to get to your first 50 clients, because that's how I started my journey. That was the question I was seeking answers for. And another was the one that Samir mentioned last about getting out into international market, because that is the quest I was recently into.
Awesome. And Kuntal, which question you like the most?
So I think everyone covered the best ones. I like the pricing and first 50 customers.
Okay, so somebody wins the 2 rewards. So you can reach out to all our panelists through LinkedIn or Twitter and wait for time. It's not that you reach out to them, you'll immediately get a 10-minute call. You can just wait for their mutual time. And thank you so much, everyone. The last part, we typically end this session with a message from our panelists. So assume that this was a university class and you are supposed to give a convocation speech on product marketing. So one line, what would be your one-line message to everybody? Chinmay. Chinmay, what would be your one-line message to the everyone?
I would say invest a lot of time in learning and reading up, and be okay to like let go of preconceptions when you find new concepts like out there. So A/B test everything. Yeah.
Awesome. And friends, you can check out eChai.in/network, where you can basically book one-on-one 15-minute video calls with other founders and the leaders from the community. With eChai also, we are now in a freemium kind of a model where you will get 200 eChai coins, where you can make 3-4 calls without becoming eChai member. And if you like the experience, you can just take up the annual. Archan, what would be your one-line message to everybody?
If someone is out there looking to pursue product marketing, I think it's one of the roles where you can consider yourself to be a micro CEO, something that I mentioned earlier, where you get to, so jack of all trades and master of some, but one who knows everything is a product marketer for me.
Awesome. Samir, your one-line message for everyone.
So I think for product marketing, try and become the customer of your product, and think about how what is the best way the business or the brand can add value to you as a customer, and then use that hat to create your product marketing strategies. It will help you.
Awesome. Kuntal, once you finish your sentence, I'll end the call. So make it a little grander.
Yeah. Okay. So now I think I would repeat what Chinmay said. Keep learning and experimenting. And one thing I would like to add is keep looking at your customer journey. From like you can search out for pirate funnel, from activation, from acquisition to revenue. This is where you have to follow your customer and keep experimenting there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm just ending this call. Let's catch up again somewhere on Twitter or LinkedIn or some of our next webinars.